Everything works. We've got about, it looks like 2 days plus change until we get into hurricane season coming up here pretty soon. That's what we're mainly going to be keeping an eye on for tonight, and for that matter for the next several days. We've had a lot of nothing to report, and we want to make certain that everybody's paying attention to what's going on with the weather when the tropics are concerned, because of the fact that we may be looking again at a very active season coming up in the not too distant future. So if you have any plans to travel to the coastal areas, this is going to be important. So we're going to be keeping a very close eye on what's going on with the weather as we go into the next several weeks and months. Hurricane season again starts in about 48 hours, and there's nothing going on right now, but we could see the potential of some more problems coming up, and that is something that we all need to pay attention to, especially for travel purposes out there. Weather Overtime, welcome to the video weather blog. We are live and direct from downtown Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austin Onick. Email at the lower section of your screen if you'd like to write and complain or have a suggestion or anything else you'd like to share. We would love to be able to see what you're thinking. We're bringing this to you to give you more information than you could possibly get in a typical TV weathercast, or a lot more than what you can get on the app on your phone. If you got any questions about the future with weather going on, here where we are in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and the Tennessee River Valley, we cover southeast Tennessee, western North Carolina, northwestern Georgia, north central Georgia in that area, and then we also cover northeastern Alabama. So that's our broadcast area. If there's something you'd like to ask that we don't know about, we'll do our best to, again, let you know. And we'll also give you an idea as to, again, if we can't find the answer to something while we're streaming here, we'll look it up and we'll get it to you on the next netcast, or however else we can get more information to you on that. But thank you guys very much for tuning in and subscribing on YouTube and Twitch. Always nice to have everybody out and about and watching what goes on. Let's go ahead and get started for tonight, because a very mild evening across the area. Temperatures in the 60s and 70s. Beautiful conditions out there. Again, Scottsboro, Alabama, a little worried about you because the temperature keeps fluctuating between round about freezing down to below zero. So would love to see if there's a way to get that information taken care of, and maybe get the thermometer repaired at the airport, because that's a little worrisome to see that continuing and going on. Temperatures throughout the rest of the area, the southeastern United States, very mild, 60s, lower 60s back to the north of us, up around Charleston, close to the lower 80s, Starkville, and back towards Little Rock, and mainly 70s throughout much of the rest of the area, so very much on the quiet side. We did have some clouds around, and we'll continue to see more clouds across portions of the area left over pretty much. We have a cold front coming in from the north. It's a weak one, but it is just enough to hold at bay all of this moisture down to the south of us. This would be our next storm system coming on through. We'll talk more about that coming up here in just a little bit. Almanac page for the day, dry, no rainfall, behind for the year by about 1/3 of an inch, so we're pretty close to where we should be for this time of the year, not doing too bad. And then ahead for the year, by the month, by 2 inches plus, so we do have some pretty good news on the almanac, so looking pretty good at that location. Taking a quick look around the area of Island Cove Marina and Resort. I love the longer days of May and June, and we're still getting longer and longer, more amounts of daylight. And then in a little bit less than about 3 weeks from now, turning that around as we head back to the winter solstice, but we're very close to the summer solstice coming up here within about the next couple of weeks. Very mild temperatures. Skies have cleared out pretty nicely. I believe that's Regulus in Leo the Lion. I'm not entirely certain about that. Went out earlier to try to see if we could find where the International Space Station was, but I think News 12's vantage point behind Lookout Mountain, we were unable to actually detect anything or see it in the skies. But hopefully everybody out there got a chance to actually see what that looked like out there. So very nice to be able to see that. Yeah, I think that should be Regulus right there, unless that is, could be, let's see, Northwest. Let's see, that's probably Gemini over there. So that is more than likely Regulus in the constellation of Leo the Lion. So beautiful night for stargazing. No problem at all. We do not have anything going on in the way of rainfall. Going to be very nice baseball weather for the rest of the week. Pity the Lookouts aren't in town, and they're having problems of their own these days from what it sounds like. Downtown Chattanooga, very pleasant. Likewise, I hope we got a pretty good sunset at Lee Point. Have to see if we can do a time lapse of that in just a little bit. From the News 12 studios, and here's the problem we were looking out for. Lookout Mountain right here, and looking roughly west-northwest, that is where the International Space Station was supposed to rise, but I think our vantage point behind Lookout Mountain was just a little bit too low, and we couldn't actually see anything going on there. From the downtown area, the North Shore, Chattanooga Theater Center, the Tennessee River rolling on through, Coolidge Park, the footbridge down toward downtown on the opposite side of the river, and very much on the quiet side there. Let's take a look and see how traffic is doing at 2475 real quick. Looking good for right now. Everything is moving along quite nicely, so not getting a lot of problems out there. And again, temperatures quite nice, back into the mid-70s. All right, our latest cold front has made its way all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, basically, and then out toward the East Coast. So we do have, again, a little bit of that drier air coming through for now, but we're also going to be seeing, again, the drier air stick around for the time being. We have high pressure well back to our north around the Great Lakes. That's helping to escort in that dry air, which is pushing back against that moisture down this direction. Then we have a couple of systems about ready to start their run toward us. When this area of high pressure gets itself out of the way, that is where we may see, again, some more chances of showers and thunderstorms coming up. So far, there's no indication of any severe weather, and hope it stays that way. But as this area of high pressure leaves by Friday, these storm systems will move in from the west, interact with the moisture out of the south, and that's where our next chances of rain are going to be coming in from. So that's what we're going to be looking for around the next few days. Temperatures into the meantime, not bad into tomorrow. Lower 50s for lows, couple of upper 40s in the higher elevations around here could be an issue. Beautiful tomorrow. Lots of sunshine, temperatures in the high 70s, maybe a few lower 80s. By Friday morning, a few more clouds coming in from the west as that area of high pressure starts to work against us by helping to move some moisture up from the Gulf, but just cloud cover for Friday and very mild temperatures. Into the weekend, Saturday, numbers beginning to get a few extra areas of showers by the morning, a little bit more by the afternoon, but so far nothing else showing up in the way of potential problems out there from any severe weather. Now into the rest of Sunday, the next front with that area of high pressure scooting off to the east, we'll start to see more storm systems coming through and interacting with that moisture coming up from the Gulf of Mexico. That is where we see the potential of some problems with outdoor activities. Again, I don't think it's going to be a washout for the weekend, but I do think if you have an outdoor plan, we're going to have to make certain that you got an indoor plan B ready to go just in case. That's going to be very important. So into tonight, temperatures again not doing too bad, heading into the mid to upper 50s for Chattanooga, Hamilton County, and the lower elevations of the Tennessee River Valley. We do see the potential of some cooler conditions higher up in the atmosphere. So higher up, say Signal Mountain, back out toward the Appalachians to the east of Chattanooga, that's where we could be seeing the potential of maybe some 40s out there. Okay, so for the next few days, lots going on, at least, again, where the weather is concerned. Very nice for tomorrow. Thursday and Friday looking pretty good. And then Saturday, that's our chances of showers and thunderstorms beginning and sticking around for the next several days. Temperatures remain quite mild, mid-80s, a few upper 80s as we head into next week. That's where we start to see the numbers stair-stepping upwards, going to just right about normal, just above normal by the time we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. Now, there's also going to be, again, the potential of some of those thunderstorms continuing, but we still do not see anything in the way of severe weather. So isolated showers and thunderstorms from Saturday onwards, looking pretty good all the way on through. For Andrew Harrison, my co-anchor who has a Corgi, his holiday is coming up 1 week from today. International Corgi Day is next Wednesday, and Andrew has some Corgis, so it would be kind of nice to be able to see that going on. I think there's a Corgi run coming up. This is very important right here because Atlantic hurricane season begins this Saturday. June the 1st is the official start of hurricane season in the Atlantic, the Gulf, and the Caribbean. So you're maybe saying to yourself, okay, big whoop, what does that have to do anything with us? Well, the main thing at this point is to make certain that we are paying attention to what is going on. So if we're up here, what does it matter what's going on all the way down here? Well, usually the prevailing winds in the eastern Pacific take the storms and push them farther westward. Same thing that happens over here in the Atlantic. They get pushed to the west or northwest and curve up into around this area. Now, we can get leftover storms. I remember Hurricane Cindy, I believe it was 2017, 2018. This is where we saw the leftover remnants of Cindy head up the Mississippi Valley. It was still a tropical storm. By the time it was still a Category 1 by the time it reached Jackson, Mississippi. It was still a tropical storm just south of Memphis, and it didn't take long for the remnants of that storm to make their way into the Mid-South and do a very big number on trees and furniture smashed around and delaying travel. So the leftover storms can cause problems. And that is something that, again, we really have to consider at this point, to where we see anything that's forming way out here to pay attention to it over here. So I know a lot of people who are taking cruises, who are planning beach vacations in the next several weeks and months. The problem we've got is not only the forecast going on, I'll show you the other problem we've got in a minute, but all these storms, again, expected to form out here and move our direction. So if you're planning on going anywhere in the Gulf, the Caribbean, the Atlantic, the coastal areas, you really have to pay attention to what is going on. Any of these storms that form out here, again, could make a beeline for the United States. It depends on the forecasts. We have to watch what goes on because those forecasts will change every few hours or so. And that, again, is where we really need to pay attention. Is it completely and totally a foolproof 100.0% accurate, free of error forecast? No, and that may never happen. But what we do have is forecasts that are much more accurate than what they were just even 3 decades ago. And that is reason enough to sit up and pay attention when the authorities, the meteorologists, the emergency managers, the elected officials start saying the storm is heading in this general direction. You who live here need to get out of the way of this storm. That is critically important. So make certain that you are able to pay attention to that and take the safe road out before the storm gets into a particular location. That's going to be one of the best things that you can possibly do. Now, why is this a concern, and why are we still talking about all this? This is where we have a concern. My wife is on a little bit of vacation right now, visiting her relatives down in Sarasota, Florida. She mentioned that they went swimming in the Gulf today, and the water temperatures were feeling almost hot. And her relatives, her aunt, I believe, said that the temperatures of the water feel more like what they should feel like in August. And she's not wrong about that. The temperatures that you see, this is a map that measures what are called SSTs, sea surface temperatures. And the very dark colors on here that you see around the Bahamas, the Straits of Cuba, into the Gulf, down south of Cuba, into around the Caribbean. These are temperatures. Notice again here, the buoy temperatures are measuring off mid-80s. There are occasionally, not seeing any in this display here, but temperatures already in the mid-80s. This is akin to what it should feel like. The water temperatures should feel this way in mid-August. There are several climatologists that I follow on social media, and they are saying this is exceptionally worrisome. Remember that Katrina and I believe Wilma or Rita, I can't remember which one. One of them went, Katrina definitely went across this area of what is called the loop current that goes into the Gulf, arcs a little bit farther to the north, and then goes out and forms the Gulf Stream. Excuse me. This is where Katrina rapidly intensified and became a Category 5 hurricane very easily by passing over these waters. Well, now we've got that same water temperature taking place. It is possible that any storm that forms way out this direction could get very ugly very, very quickly. And this is what we're seeing all the way out into the Atlantic. The water temperatures never had a chance to really cool off, so the temperatures remain very much on the warm side. And you're saying, okay, 83, 84, 85 degrees, that's cooler than what I have in my shower. Well, maybe it is, but on the other hand, this type of water that is this temperature is warm enough to help exacerbate, to be able to really boil the lower atmosphere, sending up water vapor, fuel for these storms that form, and this is what we're running into. Now, granted, looking well to our north, it's nothing like the temperatures up here. Notice off the East Coast and into the Canadian Maritimes, much colder temperatures back in the 40s and 50s. This right here, not what tropical storms like. They like seeing stuff like this, the bathtub warm water. That is rocket fuel for these things. So if we get a storm that moves its way over some of these waters, and it may take several more weeks to get a storm that's forming, but we could see a very big spin up to the season very quickly, especially with numbers just like this. Now, for right now, again, things are doing okay, but I think for right now we're going to have to be very, very careful when it comes to anything involving what we may be seeing here coming up relatively soon. This is something that, again, let's see if we got anything here. We do not have any active systems at this point for the next 2 days or so, so that's good news. But we do, again, see the potential for more in the way of problems as this system begins to get a little bit farther on. That, I don't know what that is. I don't think that is anything having to do with a active storm system at this point. No, that we are good. That is just practice or old data at this time. So we're not seeing anything going on into and around the area there. So definitely some good news again on that. We'll keep an eye on the tropics and let you know more about what is going on. Our topic of the evening is taking a look at something that technically doesn't really affect us too much around here, but it can, and that's one of the things we really need to watch out for. Mainly, this is for drier areas of the United States, to where we can get blazing wildfires into the inner mountain west, parts of the plain states, down in the southern United States. Again, all it takes is one spark on here. The month of May is Wildfire Awareness Month, and this is brought to you by several different agencies, including the National Interagency Fire Center in Boise, Idaho. They raise this issue so that people are aware to pay attention to conditions for the most part. If you're here in the Tennessee River Valley, we have a lot of lush vegetation, but when we don't get enough rainfall, we can do a very good job of getting some pretty good wildfires starting, the smoke, the pollution, things like that. If you remember 2023, Mexico and Canada sent a lot of smoke over this area, so air quality is a very big concern, and that's why we want to be aware of this. If you're traveling on vacation, say to the national parks out in the Rockies, Yellowstone, Zion, all the way out into California, Rocky Mountain National Park, several of my favorite places on earth, but if it gets too dry, you can get wildfires going very, very quickly. Now, I say this because of the fact that I want to make certain that everybody's paying attention to the possibility of wildfires. We have had a few new wildfires popping up according to the VEERS system, and that is shown by the red dots, but we're not getting a lot, nothing showing up here in the way of smoke. At least that's good news from what I can see right now. Air quality across the area is not a problem, so we're looking at some pretty good air quality, but what we are also looking for is, again, some of the smoke from the fires down across Mexico are really thick over the Rio Grande and down into eastern and northern Mexico, and some of that stuff can easily make its way up here. You can see some of the plumes of the fires driving down with that northerly wind heading down to the south and east, and we're not picking up much of anything from out of Canada either. But remember last year, all that smoke made its way down to the tri-state area and was some of the worst air quality on the face of the planet. You don't see that often, but numerous wildfires starting up there are occurring once again. And that is why we chose the weather/science poll question of the day, brought to you by friendinroofing.com from the Climate Reality Project. Very cool question to be raised. How many acres of land did Canadian wildfires consume in 2023? And again, yes, it was up in Canada. Yes, it was not United States territory. Yes, that was very far away from us, but we did get affected by the smoke, and more of these wildfires thanks to fossil fuel-driven climate change. That is something we really need to pay attention to, because both forecasting these things and where moisture is not gotten to, where it doesn't arrive, and because of climate change altering the patterns of the atmosphere and making things more unpredictable, wildfires may increase in intensity by the end of the century by a factor of 50%, according to the United Nations Environmental Program and the World Meteorological Organization. So, your choices: how many acres were consumed in Canada in last year's wildfires? 14, 24, 32, or 45 million acres. Well, about half of you, just over that, said 45. The actual answer was just under about 33 million acres. That is a lot of smoke put up into the atmosphere. It was also a reminder, and a sad one at that there were numerous casualties out of this, and hundreds of thousands of people had to get out of the way of these wildfires. It was truly a tragic situation. We saw a lot, although on a lower scale, a lower area scale, back off to the west from Colorado to California and everywhere in between, picking up wildfires out there. So this is an important thing to take a look at. If you're going on vacation to an area that does get a lot of wildfires and there's a lot of activity going on, might be something that you might want to consider out there, staying safe and paying attention to everything that might be happening, just to make certain, again, you do not get into a dangerous situation out across the area. All right, for a more peaceful view, let's take a look areas east of the Tennessee River Valley. Thank you very much, News 12 viewer Jeff Miller from Hickson, Tennessee, with pure blue skies above Colonial Williamsburg in Virginia. I haven't been here since I was 8 years old, as a matter of fact. I remember I left my M&Ms out and they melted. That was truly a tragedy, but a very cool place to visit. Thank you very much, Mr. Miller, for this particular view. If you've got pictures, we'd love to see what you are seeing, so send them in to us. Pictures at WDEF.com. You can drop it to our social media pages, or you can, again, go to our website, WDEF.com/photos, to see what you can drop your pictures off there. And you can see what everybody else is submitting for the Langley Roofing weather window picture of the day. So again, great opportunity to see a little bit more about what is going on there. I think that is it for tonight. No messages on Twitch, none on YouTube at this time. So we'll go ahead and close it up for this evening. Again, very much on the quiet side for now. We're going to be keeping a very close eye on what is going on with the tropics, because it's a nagging feeling, and maybe it's nothing, but I think this is something we are really going to have to watch out for, both here in this area, to where we might get leftover types of hurricanes moving through. Different types of storms could cause different types of problems. So this is something that, again, is going to be really incredibly important to take a look at before we, again, get into a situation where we have to see severe weather heading our way. And again, if you're going on vacation, please use caution and watch what goes on with the forecast. It's going to be one of the best things. Being weather aware at any point in time is one of the best things you could possibly do. So please consider that. Keep it tuned to News 12, and we'll keep you advised on whatever may be coming our direction. So definitely want to stay tuned again for more on that. Chip Chapman will have his forecast bright and early tomorrow morning. So stay tuned for that. And we're about 25 minutes in, so that's been a pretty good run for tonight on there. Thanks for joining us for Peak of the Week Wednesday, and stay tuned to News 12 on air and online for more details. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austin Onek from WDEF News 12 in downtown Chattanooga. Email address again here to go to our website, wdef.com/weather, if you'd like to find out more about what's going on. And stay tuned for more with News 12 throughout the